Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the conference call on Lifecycle of India Focus Fund with special reference to India Budget 2014. This conference is being hosted by Nishith Desai Associates and is being supported by US-India Business Council, India Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, Asia Pacific Real Estate Association, TAI, America India Foundation and EMPA. The speakers in the conference are Chris Lannon, Managing Director, Co-General, General Atlantic, Kannan Srinivasan, Professor at Carnegie Mellon University, Tepper School of Business, Matthew Nimitz, Advisory Director of General Atlantic, Raj Pai, Managing Director, Global Environment Fund, Advisors India, Reena Sengupta, Founder, RSG Consulting, Vijay Raval, who serves as an independent director of numerous India-centric PE funds, Nishith Desai, founder and managing director, Vaibhav Parekh, partner, private equity and mergers and acquisition, Nishil Joshipura, partner, private equity and mergers and acquisition, Vaibhav Desai, partner, international litigation and dispute resolution practice, Rajesh Simon, Head International Tax, Richi Sancheti, Head Fund, Formation, Ruchir Sinha, Co-Head, Private Equity and Private Debt Investment. During the conference, if you have any question, please feel free to email fundstream@nishithdesai.com. Also, you can download your mobile app, Nishith Mobile, which is available on App Store for iOS device, Play Store for Android, and BlackBerry World to access the current updates and videos. As a reminder, all participants' line will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of today's presentation. If you should need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touch-tone telephone. Please note that this conference has been recorded. I would now like to hand over the session to Nishith Desai, Founder and Managing Director. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
His Excellency Mr. Dhyaneshwar Mule, thank you very much, all of you, for making it convenient to come here. We are really overwhelmed. We had expected a small participation, about 60 to 70 or 80 people max, and we were surprised that we are about 150 participants registered. And till this morning, registrations came in. So at last minute, we had to change the hall. It was a smaller room, and we had to do this. So it's whole thing has been done like overnight. And I really thank each one of you for finding time to come here and be with us. All of you know, after the new government has taken over under the leadership of Mr. Narendra Modi, there has been significant change in the perception amongst the foreign investors, as well as tremendous amount of enthusiasm, hope, and excitement within the country as well, that things are going to change and change for the better. Politically, an excellent move has been made to establish some kind of peace or at least relationship with neighboring countries. I think if the neighbors and neighborhood is peaceful, I think we all can grow better. And that was the first indication of the new government. Particularly with the US now, we are seeing resurgence of good relationship. Mr. Modi is going to be here, I believe, in September, and people are preparing for him to speak at Madison Square Garden. On the economic front, we saw southward journey in last few years, but now we are beginning to see upsurge in the activity. We are very hopeful things would be better in the coming years. The style of Mr. Modi has been very different from the previous regimes. Each government had something good, something not so good, but this government has really changed the way in which we actually operate on a day-to-day basis. So bureaucrats are expected to come on time in the morning and leave only when the work gets over. I think that's a notable change in some ways. Second important thing that Mr. Modi has done is to embark on a principle of small government and more governance. So now government is kept very small, if you look at, but there is a lot more emphasis on openness, transparency, and stuff like that. As you all know, that we all want to establish a very strong regime where you don't have to worry too much about FCPA-like issues. So like that, there are quite a few things that are coming up. This conference, Lifecycle of Fund, we thought would be appropriate at this point in time because now we have seen full life cycle in the sense that not only people came in, made investments, operated companies, and issues came up, and exits began to happen. We have seen exits, and more so litigation, which was never an issue. By and large, when private equity fund invests, they don't think too much about litigation. There's usually not much litigation between the fund and the promoter, and we have seen a lot of them, and they have unfolded in many different ways in India. So we have all kind of experience, and we thought it would be nice to capture some of them in this half-a-day session and share our experiences and share experiences and thoughts of some of our other panelists. As far as history of fund goes, as a firm, our firm has been associated right from day one. It might be of some interest to you that it was sometime in 1991, 21st of June, India opened up to foreign investment. Prior to that, it was almost like a closed economy. And when India opened up, nobody knew about funds. And somehow or the other, because of our engagement in the US in prior years, we had some understanding, not as much as you people have. We thought fund would be an important part of Indian economy. As a result, we started looking at what can be done in this particular space. We found in our comparative law study, as a law firm, we are a research-based law firm. We almost 35 to 40% of our time we spend on research, academics, thought leadership, and stuff like that. And in comparative law studies, one of the things came up was your code section 865 of Internal Revenue Code, which has different basis for capital gains taxation in the US compared to what it is in India. So if you pay capital gains tax in India, there were some problems on getting tax credit in the US. And there are different rules and some complications around that. And if you do not get tax credit, then at that point of time in India, you paid 25% tax on long-term capital gain, about 50% on the short-term. And in the US, you had, I believe, 35 plus state level, city level taxes, et cetera. So combined effect of the whole tax scene was such that, it made investment in India almost non-starter. And that was the time when we started looking at other options and looking at other treaties and the jurisdictions and tumbled on Mauritius. And Mr. Muller, you've been ambassador or been in Mauritius, I saw you know, but Mauritius was like an unknown tiny country where it is and stuff like that. And we looked at, the treaty was very different. And eventually we went there for research and worked around setting up offshore financial center and set up very first company in Mauritius, and that was fund. It was index fund, Bombay Fund Limited. It was sponsored by Barclays Resort Wade Investment Management Company at that point of time. Then second fund was Alliance Capital. Again, we participated in that. Third one was George Soros Indo-Ocean. Fourth one was Walden Nico, and so on and so forth. So first 5 structures we had put in place, and that all came out of our research work, incidentally. And Mauritius became the largest foreign investor in India. Almost 48, 49% of investment began to happen. And of course, a lot of things have happened. We'll be discussing what's currently happening. But I thought I'll just give you a context that our relationship with the fund industry has been of a pioneering nature as far as India is concerned. And I do not want to take too much time at this point in time, but to give you some guidance on today's program. We have about 4 sessions, but in that we are covering all different aspects. For each of the session, we have all the material for you. As you can see on table, you got a whole library for foreign investment and also for private equity in particular. So you can take this home, and then maybe you didn't have to attend this conference if you had time and energy to read everything. But I'm sure this would be a very good reference material. When you're in the flight, this is easy. That's what we find. The only peaceful time people find today is in the flight when you have no cell phones. Beg your pardon? Most welcome. So I think, and of course, those who cannot read, we are also going to put a lot of audios and videos on our mobile app that is just being inaugurated today as well. So, we try to address all senses, and disseminate knowledge as much as possible. So in that sense, I think it's a very opportune time for us to interact on a number of issues. So please feel free to take this collaterals or all the booklets with you and take it forward. I would like now to invite Mr. Dhyaneshwar Mule, honorary, ambassador. He has been ambassador in Mali and in Mauritius, a number of other places, including Damascus. I saw you've been there, so you've got wide experience. And I would like him to make an inaugural speech and give us some guidance and direction as to what he thinks of coming days in India. Welcome, Mr. Mule. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishith, and Nishith, Desai, his team, ladies and gentlemen. If there is one person who is completely ignorant about the field that you are all operating in, it's me. So I'm the appropriate person to open and then perhaps leave. But yes, the title is very fascinating. I am a bit of a poet, so in everything I try to see poetry. Lifecycle of India focused funds. Your life cycle is really when you enter, maybe put some investments, wait for its growth, and then at an appropriate opportunity, either decide to continue or quit. Governments look at situation like Brahma. Brahma is the god of creation in India. He is supposed to be the source of all creation. And it's said that his one day is like a million years of human beings. So governments are a bit like Brahma. We take a long-term view of ourselves. 68 years of history of independent India is just a beginning as compared to maybe 200 plus years of American history. So often the American standard doesn't really work in India. And yet, if you see the strides that India has taken in the last 68 years, these are amazing. The other day I was reading American ambassador who was in India in 1952. I forget his name. But he has in his book described the glorious travels of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who in those days by car in 1952, the first general election, traveled in 50,000 kilometers. Come fast forward 2014, and we have a would-be prime minister that traveled for 300,000 kilometers. And during his campaign, which extended for several months, did not miss a single meeting. One that he missed was not of his own making, apparently. So, Nishith, briefly touched upon, past governments and this government. It's always good. Times change and dynamics change. But nevertheless, if one has to compare, I would say the difference between the past elections and this election, if there's one difference that is there or was there, that is, I think this election was fought more on business issues, the growth, the employment opportunities, the development. And this prime minister is an economic prime minister. That's how I describe him. And that's, I think, if there is one defining difference between the past election, this election, and perhaps the past prime ministers, and this prime minister, it is this, that we have a deliberately economic path now that has been, that has been made as a priority. And I think it makes us very happy in diplomacy, because we think now time has come, India is a stable democracy. We've had nobody asked questions whether there will be a smooth transfer of power in India, whether there will be elections in India. From the lowest of the lower level at Gram Panchayat to the national level, we have smooth periodic elections. This election was a marvel in itself, if I can use that word. 900,000 voting booths, 1.4 million electronic voting machines. It's 100% electronically voted election. I don't think there's anywhere that kind of election elsewhere in the world. So it's the largest democratic experiment that was held, democratic performance that was held. Well, coming to his economic agenda, it's very clear that this Prime Minister has a focus. And he started working not on day 1, but minus day 7, when he invited the neighboring countries. And it's hugely important for any country, particularly a major country, to define its relationship with its neighbors. And this Prime Minister is keen that this relationship not only remains stable, not only it remains good, but it should be, I think, made economically vibrant relationship. There is a lot that we can share with our neighbors. So I think he has started on a good footing. He has, announced plans to have a SAARC satellite. He has announced plans to have 100 smart cities. And he has made a number of, and he's also once said, which really fascinates me, is not temples, but toilets. To me, it's a measure, and I think if I was you, I would have, read it as an investment opportunities in health, sanitation, rural infrastructure, housing, whatnot. So this is how things are changing. This particular budget that we have seen also, most people don't think it's earth-shaking, and perhaps it is not. It's perhaps certainly not revolutionary, but I think I call it a radically evolutionary budget. It has been presented in less than 50 days of the new government's taking over. It's also valid only for a few months. In about 8 months' time, you'll have another full-fledged budget, and I think one should really look at that. But what this budget sets the tone, which is not only positive, I think it takes into account all the concerns that you've had. I have been here a little over a year, and I have seen how depressing the mood was. And depressing moods are like epidemics. They spread so fast that anybody who comes in contact, also becomes depressed. So considering that, I see now, and I think rightfully see an upswing in the mood of people. And this budget particularly, it lays emphasis on infrastructure. It lays emphasis on construction. It lays emphasis on foreign investment. It opens up new fields for investments, whether it is defense, whether it is insurance, whether it is e-commerce. Its provisions are, also very indicative. There is, for example, a 10,000 crore, about a 1.3 billion perhaps, US dollars fund created for Silicon Valley. There's a announcement to start a high-speed rail network between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. There's also a concept of connecting all the major cities in a quadrilateral rail network. There is also a concept of 100 smart cities. That's PM's announcement to create 100 smart cities. Now, I think all of these really give an indication that the government believes that the true and the real way of taking the country forward is really through the economic route. And that's where I think all of you will have to play an important role. The Prime Minister has said, again, his vision is, he's a man who looks forward. He said once that when he accepted to be the leader of the parliamentary board of his party, he said this: we are 1.2 billion. If we take one step forward, we go ahead. We take forward 1.2 billion steps. That's, I thought, was an amazing statement. The other statement I really thought of as indicative of his vision is when he said about the optimism, about the bright outlook. He says that when a glass is half full, some people say that it's half full. Some people say that it's half empty. But I am a person of a third kind. I feel that the glass is half full with water and half full with air. That's the Prime Minister. For me, what does it indicate? That means you need to understand the policies of new Prime Minister, new government. You need to find meaning where there is none to be seen. I thank you all for giving this opportunity. I would like to congratulate Nishith Desai and his teams for such an impressive gathering. I know I haven't touched the core issues which we'll be handling, but I think even on the taxation side, whether it is retrospective tax, whether it is advance mechanism, there's some very positive indications, and my hunch is that we are on the right path. We have had, India is enterprising, India has opportunities, but now we also have a narrative. The narrative is very simple. We are open for business, and you're all welcome. Thank you very much. Well, I think with this kind of crackers, I would like to announce that this proceedings of this seminar are opened and inaugurated. Thank you very much.